Hello and welcome. Here's Blanca Vergara from Parenting the Gods, and we have a brand new conversation with a brand new guest. Her name is Natanya Lara. Natalia, welcome. Thank you for being with Thank you for being with us today.
Hello, Blanca. Thank you.
Natanya is an amazing lady. She's a coach, and she works, yes, you guess, with mothers, of course, and she works in a very specific way, not very far away from what we say here in Parenting the Gods. She works in a very spiritual way. She, in fact, believes that the way parenting should be done as a spiritual journey, and she does so because it has been a spiritual journey for her. She has had the experience of being a mother with a partner, to be a mother without a partner, so a single mom as well. She has been an entrepreneurial mother, a mompreneur, and now she is a business owner. And so she has all different experience and all different flavors of what parenting could be for people. She has experiencing that. So she's going to be sharing with us today how she lives this spiritual journey. And that would be, of course, my first question. Natalia, tell us that. Why do you say that parenting should be a spiritual journey?
Yeah. Because we as parents so often get caught in expectations, a specific thing that we want to see from our children, a specific moment that's happening that we get really caught up in, rather than sort of remembering the entirety of the experience, letting go of specific expectations, trusting our intuition, really knowing the values that are at the base of our parenting practice, being willing to fail, and then try again, being willing to apologize. All of these pieces are so important for us as parents so that we can enjoy it, so that we can grow from it, so that we can allow our children to be our teachers and our guides, and really embrace the entirety of the experience rather than getting so caught in this one specific box that we so often can. Wow. As parents.
I'm exhilarated. You mentioned some things that are behind the thinking of Parenting the Gods. Practice. The reason why I chose the name of parenting, ing, is because nobody's an expert in parenting, and we just learn by doing. And I thought of it like we practice medicine. All the doctors say that they are practicing medicine because we are learning, and that's what we do with practice. And the willingness to be wrong, the willingness to apologize, is just, I don't know, so powerful what you are saying. And you have me, you have triggered something inside me. How did you come up with this? What happened?
My experience has really been, let's just say I had a crisis. So I was really, from the time, even before my children were born, I knew that I wanted to be really intentional in my parenting. I knew that I wanted parenting to be different than maybe what I had experienced when I was a child. Even though I'm very close to my parents, I love them, and I'm connected to them, but I knew that I wanted something different for myself. And so even before my children were born, I started reading and thinking about, well, what can this look like? And then when my children were born, I was like, this is so hard, and it was very, very challenging to embody all the ideas that I had been reading about and thinking about and hoping that I could embody. And so I went through several years of really, really struggling to try to, meet these expectations I had of myself, right? That I would be this kind of a mother, that I would do this kind of art with my children, that it would feel this specific way to be with them. And it got to a point of such crisis where I was being so hard on myself and my children, I wasn't enjoying my time with them. And so I just, there were a lot of, it was a crisis moment, right? So it was a crisis in my parenting, it was a crisis in my marriage, it was a crisis in my personal life. I was ill, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to let go of all these expectations because I'm driving myself crazy. And I just decided to focus on self-care. And I just decided to focus on really getting better because I was ill, on just taking care of myself. And from out of that decision, everything else sort of flowed. Once I did that, once I let go of all those expectations, I was able to really connect with just those few things that were really important to me and stay focused on them and figure out how to experience those in my life. So being connected with my children, and finding ways to do that. And rather than, holding myself to a specific way of responding to them at a specific moment, just knowing this is how I want to feel. And so I'm going to have that be my focus. That's how I came to it.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
I bet that there is more than one woman feeling exactly the same. We want to do this and we want to do the best because we love them, and we try and it oops comes wrong and we are the best at criticizing ourselves. Why did you say that? Why did you shout? Why did you this? And then it becomes a snowball of self-criticism. Wow. How did you manage to get out? How did you manage to connect with the fact that self-care was the thing that you needed to do?
There were a couple of things that led to that. The first was I noticed that every morning when I woke up, before my feet even hit the ground, I would wake up, and the first thing that would happen was that my heart would just fall into my stomach. And I would be like, oh, do I really have to get up and do this again? And it was after noticing that for a few days, I thought, okay, I'm going to just think of one thing that I'm looking forward to today. One thing that I can appreciate. And that became my first practice. Just in the morning when I opened my eyes, just thinking of that one thing. And that was kind of the little snowflake, that from which everything spiraled.
Oh, and it's so beautiful because this is just so practical, and so spiritual and so simple, yet so powerful. And we forget to do it because it's so simple. It's just ridiculous that many people know this, but then we don't do it.
Yeah, because it is. It's hard to believe that something so simple could have such a huge impact. And that's part of my mission, is just to really share and reassure moms and parents that even just tiny little shifts can make such a huge difference.
But then after this crisis, then you started coming out. And then when did it shift into, this is what I should be doing for life? How did the story continue?
Yeah. So after that, there was actually, I had a friend who suggested that I take a meditation class that was being offered at the local Zen Center, which is actually right around the corner from me. So it was easy to access. It was once a week in the evening, and so I did that. And once I had that practice, that meditation practice, it helped me really to connect to, what my values are, and to really start thinking about how I wanted to experience my life in a larger way. And at that same moment, of course, as the universe works, an email arrived in my inbox with the opportunity to study to become certified as a parenting coach. And so I just took that sign because it's what I had been studying anyway for 6 years. It's what I had been studying and thinking about. And I had actually worked with a parenting coach myself. And I just decided this is my path. And I followed it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, this is your life work. This is what your soul is asking you to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it was such a, I remember that at that initial email, actually, I had a phone call with the coach who became my coach. And we had the phone call, and I said, I really have to sit with this. I'm not sure. And then I had one of those middle of the night moments where I just woke up and I was like, I have to do this. And I've just never looked back. It's a calling. It's connecting with parents is, it's like a sacred experience for me, because we are, we're raising the future of, of humanity. We are raising the future, and it's such a sacred honor.
Absolutely.
And so that's how I feel about working with parents, is just to be able to share that.
Yeah. I love how you put it, because we can see it as a heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's when you get burnout. We can see it as a chore. That's also when we get burnout. That's when people talk about balance. But when we see it as an honor, then we get out of bed full of enthusiasm. That's really wow. I get the feeling of the answer of my next question. How do you transform women, or mothers? When, in which kind of circumstance do they arrive, and how do they leave you?
So when they come to me, I've spoken with so many different women, and the unifying factor is that, they're feeling just overwhelmed. And that can look so many different ways. That can look like frustrated with their children because they're not doing what they want. Or it can look like, I want to be this kind of mom, and I don't know how to do it. But there is this feeling of overwhelm and just not knowing how to be centered in the parenting experience, how to trust themselves, how to, parent from intuition, and really feel the connections with their children. Rather than this sense of sort of dominance over, or having to get the kids to do something, this feeling of connection, and it's what they want. They want to feel that connection, but they just don't know how, because they're so caught in this expectation of how the children should act, or what they should do, what their responses should be. So they're caught up in all of this conversation, and that's when they come to me, and we work on that. We work on that inner dialogue. We work on that inner conversation. We work on clarifying what is that center for you? What does that feel like, and what's there? And then, in being able to really look at this, we build a structure to help to help them in their own lives so that they're not just recognizing it when they're on the phone with me, but that in their own lives, they're able to remember. Because it's hard. We get caught up, we get distracted, and our inner dialogue goes, and then we forget what that center feels like, or what, you know, what those central values are. So we build up a structure, a scaffolding, so that they can remember, so that they have the ability in those hard moments when their kids are, you know, driving them crazy, to remember, oh yeah, okay, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to move from, and to be able to do that. And so when we're done, they have that scaffolding, and they're connected with that inner place in themselves.
Tell me more about this overwhelm, because I agree with you that that it takes so many different disguises than when you ask a mother, how are you doing? The constant answer, the normal answer is fine. And they will not tell you I'm overwhelmed. They will never say I find parenting difficult, challenging.
Yeah.
It was it's very difficult that we open our heart and we say it's difficult to do parenting, even if we all feel it. So tell us more, what feelings your mothers have before they arrive with you.
Yeah. It's I love what you're saying about, you know, that we don't talk about how hard it is, because this is the first step. This is the first step, is being able and willing to acknowledge what's happening for us. And I feel this is so important. To not only be able to not only to be able to acknowledge it, but to be able to have the conversation about it with each other. I was just talking with a friend about this yesterday, about how, you know, if we were able to sit in conversation and say, I wish that I'm so disappointed because I wish that I could do this thing with my child. I wish that I could take my child to the park to play with the ducks, but my child doesn't want to do that. And I always imagined going to the park with my child to feed the ducks. And I'm disappointed that this isn't something my child wants to do. You know, my child wants to roll around on the ground and wrestle, but I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm not, I don't know what to do. And what if we were having that conversation and that other parent said, oh, I'm so sick of going to the park to feed the ducks. Would you please take my child? And I'll go and I'll roll around on the floor with,
Yeah.
Like, if we're having these conversations, we could be supporting each other in community so much. And I think that what we're feeling takes the form from this disappointment of what we expected to be able to do with our kids, right? So I had this picture in my head that I would be doing watercolor, this beautiful Waldorf watercolor with my children, and that we would have an art room that would be set up, and it would be beautiful, and the sun would be shining in, and that just wasn't my experience for many different reasons. And I was very, very deeply disappointed, deeply frustrated that I couldn't make it work. And there's also a shame. There's a piece about shame that goes along with it, which is like, I should be able to make this happen.
Because nobody complains it should be easy.
Right.
How is it possible? I can't,
Yeah.
Shame.
So these are all, so it takes the form of so many different, just wanting to do something, go on an outing with our kids that their temperament doesn't match with, to this deep, deep feeling of shame that for some reason we failed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like parents need to hear that other parents feel the same, and that there is no fail. It's just, it's just changing our perspective. It's just shifting our expectations a little bit. It's just recognizing what we do have. It's recognizing how we do connect and what our children do love and meeting them there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think in this subject of these are my expectations and this is how my child is, there is magic. And there are in many ways how you can, transform this. How do you, after we recognize that things are not fine, then what's your next step?
Yeah. So once you can recognize that things are not okay, it's really important to be able to notice that inner dialogue, to recognize that the expectations are coming from within you and also from outside of you. So acknowledging that there is this experience of disappointment or frustration, and that it's not necessarily the fault of the child, that we're talking about expectations. And so that's the next, it's a small shift from that initial acknowledgement, but it's important to recognize that the expectations come from us. And and that's big, because it's human nature to want to put the blame outside of ourselves. And I shouldn't even use that word blame, but to want to look outside of ourselves for the reason.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to recognize that it comes from inside of us.
Yeah.
And that's, again, important to say, no shame or guilt attached. So then the next step is to look at, okay, why? Like, where does these voices come from? And where do they originate? Because, and that's where a large part of my work is actually based in neuroscience. Those subconscious, the conscious versus the subconscious mind. And so many of our thoughts and actions are driven by those subconscious messages that we get that we don't even realize that we're hearing. And so to be able to get under there, this is the work that I'm doing one-on-one with clients, is really to be able to get under there and to notice, okay, what are these messages? And then how can we shift them? How can we shift them so that the subconscious messages that we're hearing are different? So that we feel, we then can see it reflected in the way that we act and the choices that we make.
Beautiful. And how do you help these women to connect with the subconscious?
A number of ways. I have some guided meditations that we do, and that's something that I do both with them and that they're able to do on their own, to bring up what that core belief is, that really, it's like, it's that core belief, and it comes out as something completely different. And so we really go down, both with guided meditation, on their own and with me, and just some really deep, honest looking, and we get underneath there.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, and what I bet is that afterwards it changes everything. It changes even the behavior of the child and the relationship, and maybe the relationship with the husband. And tell us a success story or
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
How does that look like?
Yeah. So it looks like I have a mom that I'm working with now, and she has one of her challenges has been quick temper, and I can certainly relate to that. I'm sure that many people can relate to that. And so when she gets triggered, right, for reasons that she never even understood why, she would just lose her temper and start yelling, mostly yelling and screaming. And it was hard. She hated it. She was pushing her children away. It created this whole dynamic in the household. And so we've been doing this work together. And she had an experience where she got triggered during an evening meal when her children were both, saying they didn't like the food, they didn't want to eat it, they were, to her mind.
I bet that never happened to any of our listeners.
No. Right? So they were insulting her creative endeavor and the nourishment that she was providing. And this was a moment when she was able to recognize what was happening. And instead of flying off the handle and really yelling and screaming, she took a breath, she excused herself, and she went for a walk. And she took that time to just calm herself down. And she returned to the home. And after the first thing, when she walked in the door, her 14-year-old son came over and apologized to her. And said that he realized that he had been disrespectful. And that, right? I mean, that just gives me chills when I hear that she was really able to do this, and that it not only shifted her ability in the moment to stop herself from responding in that way, but look at how it connected her with her child. Her child was able to recognize what was happening for her in that moment and connect with her about it when she
But I see another bit that by just stepping out, she respects herself.
Yes.
And that's a message that she sent to her children. I respect myself, you respect me, I respect you. And then it's love. I love myself, I love you. Instead of fire, it just escalates.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We all want to be there. Give us more. Give us a tip of how we can do that.
Okay. So I would say the first step is really to try to take a step back from sort of the daily expectations that we get caught up in. So, yes, we do. The children do need to get to school. Yes, we do have to make food. Yes, these things have to happen. But if we can just take a step back for a moment from all of these tasks and expectations and just get a larger view about what we want our life to feel like, what our life is really about, what are those values, those core values that we want to live by. That's a lot right there. But if you can just take that one step back, and I'm not saying take that step back every day at every moment, but just take a moment to be able to take that step back and take a larger view of how you want your life to feel and what those guiding values are. That would be the first step. And I would say that hand in hand with that is to create some kind of Okay, so what I would recommend would be to take a step back. We get so caught up in what's happening at the moment, the expectations we have at the moment, the dinner that has to be made, the way that the children are interacting, exactly, all the little minutiae that make up our lives. And so just to be able to take a step back and remember what our larger purpose is, how we want our lives to feel, and how we want our relationships with our children to feel. And so just not to have to try to do this at every moment, but just to give yourself the space to think about it and to view your life in that way. That's really the first step. And then with that, I'd say, side by side with that, to start some kind of a daily practice. And even if it is just the waking up in the morning and thinking one thing you're looking forward to that day, or one good thing in your life that you can be grateful for, having some kind of a practice that will grow over time and will help you to anchor that larger view, will help you to be able to embody that and remember it more often.
Wow. What I love of it is that it's very practical. Very practical, very actionable.
It's important, right? Because we can have these ideas about how we want our lives to feel and what we want to do and be, but we need to know how.
Exactly, exactly.
To take practical steps.
Absolutely. And, ladies and gentlemen, this lady is so practical, and I know it in advance. She has something for you. And this is just the first step that she offered people on how to transform their parenting. So tell us, what is that first step that you have for people?
Yes, I have a free audio class. It's right on my website. It's called The Key to Intentional Parenting. And it's a short recording. It's, I think, 15 minutes. So it's really accessible, doesn't require a lot of time. And it will go deeper into what we've been talking about today, into what the neuroscience is behind what we experience as parents, and into what further steps that you can take to start having an intentional parenting practice, as I call it.
I love it. Intentional parenting.
Yeah.
They're powerful. I don't know you guys, but I'm deeply inspired by this lady. Obviously, all her contact details and where you can find this key, this first step, are going to be below the video. And I don't know you, but I love this video. I love Natanya. And if you did too, please like it as well. And share it with all your friends. Now with social media, we can share it with the entire world. Tell everybody what intentional parenting is all about. And please join us in our website, in Parenting the Gods. You can comment and you can share with us how is intentional parenting for you. How do you make out of your parenting your spiritual practice? And please do comment, because you see, your comment will inspire other people. Will serve how our children are being parenting all around the world. More people are awakening to see that our children are our future, literally. So please do go and do comment. And when you are there in our website, please do subscribe to our mailing list, because there we share other stuff that we just simply cannot share in video. Once again, Natanya, thank you very much for being with us. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And remembering, love is the only language that children understand. Mm-hmm. So speak from love, act from love, be love. Exciting. So,